Welcome to another edition of Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 949. I'm Kevin Kallsen.
I'm George Conger. Today is January 6th, 2026.
All right, Happy New Year. Welcome to another episode of Anglican Unscripted. We're glad you could be here. George took some time off, which is good. Jeff filled in for him last week. We got breaking news of the Washington Post article about Julian Dobbs. We'll talk about that in a minute. How you doing, George? You look a little tired.
I'm tired. It's been a very busy, very stressful time.
Sure.
But the new year's started, and we're looking forward to great things coming.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've been having a little trouble.
Putting the past to bed and starting fresh.
Sure, we've been having a little trouble with the internet. Your internet at church has been a little flaky today. So if George looks a little fuzzy, it's not George, it's the internet. If our audio's a little out of sync, it's not George, it's the internet. We're men of a certain age. You may think we're kind of foggy and flaky, but it's not us. Before we get too far into the episode, please like this episode, share it with friends, family, and foe. Go to the comment section and leave us your thoughts. And while you're at it, go to Anglican.inc/donate and help us raise money to fly to Abuja. A ticket to Abuja from Washington, D.C. round trip is $1,392. George, I just checked our PayPal account, and guess how much money we have? We have $1,395. That's enough for one ticket. Doesn't include the hotel. So we're getting there. Now, I understand that our demographic is probably a 60-year-old clergyman on just about to go on pension. Doesn't have a lot of money to give to Anglican.inc to send us to Abuja. I really understand that. However, there are some wonderful people who've given money of great value to Anglican TV in the last couple weeks that I know they are parting with something that's important to them, and they've given it to us to fly, and I really appreciate that. And I would ask that more of you could do the same, because we want to get George out of Florida to go to Abuja as well. So you don't want to just send Kevin. I mean, that's kind of half the fun. Having George there is all the fun. All right. Let's move on to our top stories here. We got first story is what I covered last week with Mr. Walton. Dobbs was the subject of two negative stories, one in the Washington Post and one in the Sunday Times. And basically, if you get covered by the Washington Post, you're automatically guilty. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's unusual, and that the Anglican Church in North America is not the Catholic Church or the Church of England. It's not a megalith that you would usually attract the attention of the Washington Post or the Times. Sure. In London. Yet they did an article about the current dean, Julian Dobbs, rehashing past accusations of misconduct. And if you read through the article itself, you find that these were investigated, adjudicated at the time of the alleged actions, and he was cleared. There are two stories out there. One involved transfers of money between his diocese and the jurisdictions of the armed forces and chaplaincy. And this was Derek Jones complained about Julian Dobbs pocketing $48,000 or something to that effect. And this was investigated. And in fact, on December 12th, I think, Foley Beach put out a letter to the College of Bishops saying, look, we investigated this at that time. We had a forensic accountant look at all this. The diocese did their own investigation. There's no there. There's no theft. There's no malice. There's no bad act. Was it done with perfect lightning efficiency of a CPA's office? No, they could have had better this and that. But is the accusation of theft,
corruption,
graft true?
Yeah.
And the answer is absolutely not. And the second story, which was more of the focus of the Times of London story, was about the Barnabas Fund, which is based in London. Dobbs ran the U.S. operation based out of suburban Washington, D.C. Now, the Barnabas Fund's leader, Patrick Sukdeo, got in some trouble with the charity regulators.
Yep.
I was forced out of that charity. And in fact, there's been some criminal investigations into the use of that charity's funds. Dobbs was one of the good guys in the investigation. Dobbs was not the subject of any criminal inquiry or anything like that. He just was a member of the team. In fact, he was being tarred with the things that were said about Sukdeo. And Sukdeo was found guilty of them, not Dobbs. So here again, there's no there. Now, do I have absolute knowledge? No, I don't. But from the information I've seen, and we covered this at the time from the Barnabas Fund, and we published months ago the Diocese of the Living Word's statement on Dobbs being exonerated. So there's nothing new in any of this.
Well, we covered this.
It's just new in the sense that the major newspapers picked it up and ran with the story in the wake of the Steve Woods and Stuart Rooke trials.
Right. But we covered the Barnabas Fund 5, 6, 7 years ago when, a lot of this was internally happening with the Barnabas Fund. And, we knew all the insider things. And you and I have documentation provided to us by the Barnabas Fund and by other sources that clearly show that, they did investigate Dobbs and found no wrongdoing. We were also told the Washington Post was provided this as well. I don't know that for sure, but the documentation I've been provided, I'm pretty confident shows Dobbs did no wrongdoing with the Barnabas Fund and with the Jones. But that we're not perfect. We don't know. And we try to put our confirmation bias to the side. He's a bishop. He's been accused of a crime. He must be guilty. Well, recently in the ACNA, that could be true. Bishops have been accused of stuff, and we have 2 bishops that have been had to step down. We have another bishop, Bishop Bruck, who was just exonerated. We have Bishop Wood going under trial soon, and we have Bishop Jones still before the review board, or Bishop the Board of Inquiry. So I don't know. I want to say, just because you're a bishop doesn't mean you're guilty.
And at a certain point, if an investigation's been concluded and you don't like the results, calling for another investigation, another trial, another look, you're never going to be satisfied until you get the outcome you want. And in a certain point, you just have to let it go and say, do you so distrust the system that any investigation you're going to reject out of hand? Or are you going to reject something even without a smoking gun, even without indications that it was corrupted or whatever? Now, I don't know Bishop Dobbs. He's not a friend of mine. He's an acquaintance, but nothing more than that. I have no personal plus or minuses there. So I'm not rooting for him. I'm not trying to pull him down. But I just think it's wrong to try to tar somebody with the opprobrium that arose from the whole mess around the Rooke trial and the Woods trial, and to say, oh, let's get 3 if we've gotten 2.
Sure.
No, you can't do that.
Well, I mean, as a journalist, I understand the desire to, but yeah, at a certain point, you have to, there was no there, in my humble opinion. Let's move on to some more news here. And Episcopal Church condemns arrest of Maduro, the nice gentleman who was in charge of Venezuela. Was kidnapped in the dark of night with his wife by the Trump administration, and the TEC, and they don't have TDS. Don't mistake this, but the TEC put out a statement almost immediately condemning the kidnapping of Maduro in the dark of night with his wife. The Episcopal Church Office for Public Affairs releases an anti-Trump statement repeating Democratic talking points. Let's talk about this, George.
First off, its statement saying the Episcopal Church says X actually is the Episcopal Church's public policy network and the Office of Public Affairs. These are staffers and bureaucrats. There's no bishop signing his name to this thing. It's not from Sean Rowe. It's not from convention or standing committee or anything like that. It's from a bunch of people in an office in Washington or perhaps New York. And they basically watched an episode of MSNBC, listened to those talking points, and put out a statement that was light on facts and heavy on political rhetoric. Now, is this a surprise anyway? Oh, absolutely not. No. I mean, the Episcopal Church's inner core, 815 we like to call them, based on the name, based on the street address where they're located, 815 2nd Avenue. They will get the wrong end of the stick, almost every social issue. They're still in favor of allowing children under the age of 5 to say I need a sex change operation.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're still supporting castration for small children. They are, they're now in favor of narco-terrorist drug smugglers.
Well, considering
how come they can be so consistently off target? I don't.
Considering most of them probably attended a No King's Day march somewhere near them, I'm surprised that they are mad that a person who acted as king, who was not rightfully elected, who is stealing the money of one of the most wealthy nations in the world by assets, there is no reason Venezuela should not be as prosperous as Saudi Arabia. They have all the oil, mining resources, diamonds, mines, everything in their boundaries, in their borders, and yet Maduro and his cronies seem to have siphoned it all off to the point where we have 8 million Venezuelans flee here to America over the last.
I have some in my congregation, and I have to tell you, they are overjoyed. This is an evil dictator who has destroyed their country, murdered, some of their acquaintances and friends. The Episcopal Church says, no, you shouldn't have done that. You should have asked Chuck Schumer permission first. Oh, come off it now. This is exactly what was done with Manuel Noriega under George H.W. Bush. Mm-hmm. This was what's done with the pursuit of Osama bin Laden by Barack Obama. I mean, there's sometimes the president has the authority when these people are designated as terrorists. And it was the Biden administration that designated Maduro and his wife as narco-terrorists to act upon it.
Here's the
mistake the Episcopal Church made was just talking without letting all the facts come out.
But no, all the facts.
Like Donald Trump.
Yeah, but all the facts are out about transgenderism. The science is out, and they're still on the wrong side of it. Facts have never stopped the Episcopal Church from being on the wrong side. Science has never stopped them. Philosophy has never. Nothing stops the Episcopal Church from being on the wrong side of an issue, George. The Biden administration thought it worthy that Maduro was bad enough to put a $25 million bounty on it. They're only upset because Trump collected it. Mm-hmm. If anybody else had gone in there, if Canada had a secret operation, and they don't have the ability to do it because they have such a horrible army. But if somehow Canada had managed to capture Maduro, there wouldn't have been a word about it. And, oh, look, where do we write the check? One of those weird things, George. Lots of comments, if you want to make them, how we're wrong, how we're pro-Trump. I'm not a pro-Trumper. I don't like the guy that much, but he made me a lot of money his first term. Moving on to story number 3, Dallas. The Episcopal Church Diocese of Dallas gives depot to 4 parishes to perform gay marriages. I didn't think Dallas was pro-gay marriage. I thought their new bishop was, kind of on our team here, George.
He is, and they're not. But we've now seen the new normal for the Episcopal Church. which is you can be conservative and you can voice your opinion, but you cannot act upon it. The new bishop came into office on January 1st, and he said, we have 4 parishes that want to perform same-sex marriages. I'm opposed to this, but because of the canons of the Episcopal Church nationally, I am going to authorize Dean Wolfe, the retired Bishop of Kansas, to exercise episcopal jurisdiction for these parishes. So in essence, I'm spinning them off to a pro-gay bishop. And the rest of the Diocese of Dallas, you can't do this. Well, they don't want to do it. But the new normal is you can have principles, but you can't really act upon them. You can't enforce them.
Because of the example they made of Bishop Love, because of the example they made of Charlie Holt, the new bishop of the Diocese of Dallas says, of course you can do this with a different bishop. We'll depot you. I don't want no trouble with 815. I'm new here. I'm 5 days in. So that's how it's... Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that the pro-gay lobby isn't growing. They're not... Dallas has been under siege for years and years and years. And its last bishop was a bit weak, and the Canon of the Ordinary was very weak on these issues. And yet still, there are only 4 parishes that want to sign up. In some respects, the gay wave has crested. That issue has passed by, and I just don't see it as being... Because we now have some gay leaders in the church who are against the transgender movement. I mean, the lockstep left is not marching all in unity. In other words, it used to be that they would be pro-Maduro, pro-gay, pro-trans, pro-abortion. And now you see individual Episcopal liberals who may have one of these issues lit up for them, but oppose some of the others. The monolith is breaking apart, as is the Episcopal Church itself.
Yes. Well, I mean, the heyday or the pinnacle for the queer rights movement within tech was the election and consecration of Bishop Gene Robinson. And when he got divorced, about 10 years later, their oomph was gone.
What this is called by the smart people is synodality, and that, local decision making. And this was the mantra of Pope Francis and now of Pope Leo. And if you're a Catholic traditionalist and you hear these words synodality, you just need to look at those places that tried it, the Anglican world, where you have, the Church of England in turmoil, where you have the, communion, where the majority of the communion is no longer looking to Canterbury as its leader because of her heterodox theological views. Synodality is one of the glories of the Anglican way, but it also is one of the curses. And the Catholics want to seem to pick up one of the curses.
George, I have some news here. You probably just saw this. You were so busy last week, but there is a new denomination within the Anglican Episcopal framework. It's called the Anglican Reformed Catholic Church. Now, it was formed by Bishop Derek Jones, who last I saw on video said he was being taken in by the Church of Nigeria. So this is an update to that. This is a big update. I mean, of the 40 provinces and thousands of dioceses that are out there, nobody would take Jones. He actually had to form his own denomination / province / church. Joined recently by Don Armstrong, from the church in Colorado. Let's talk about this church.
Yeah, Derek Jones, who's fighting the ACNA on several fronts. There's a lawsuit in federal court in Charleston. There's proceedings for the Board of Inquiry. One of the charges is schism, that he's withdrawn from the church. No. And he says, no, I haven't withdrawn from the church. I've just formed a new church, the Anglican Reformed Catholic Church.
Okay.
So perhaps things have changed since his last pleading.
Okay.
But Jones has picked up his marbles and walked off the field, and some people have followed him. Jeff Walton has estimated that maybe a quarter of a third of the chaplains that were originally part of the jurisdiction may stay with Jones. Whether that's a long-term thing, we don't know, but a lot of these guys are in places where they're just not getting Anglican Unscripted just to hear what's happening. They just have no clue what's going on. And this is shaking itself out. And we've reached the sort of natural consequence that Jones wants his own show, and he's got his own show.
Absolutely.
Now, it's called the Anglican Reformed Catholic Church. The lawsuit they have in Charleston against the ACNA, there's been a motion to dismiss based on the principle that a court cannot determine church doctrine, and who is a bishop is a matter of church doctrine. You cannot second guess the internal workings of a religious group. And so the Episcopal, the Anglican Church in North America, which fought on these issues with the Episcopal Church for years in federal court, knows these arguments and is coming before the judge. And I would say there's a very good, solid, strong chance that Jones's lawsuit will be dismissed. And Jones will have his Anglican Reformed Catholic Church. He'll be formally removed from the ACNA. And then there'll be a little mass grab for whatever chaplains are undecided.
Yeah.
So people are going to spend a lot of money for no real purpose.
No, the purpose is to help a person keep his kingdom. You know, wasn't he appointed by Chuck Murphy?
He was ordained, I think, by Murphy, or he came in through Murphy thing.
What a small world.
He's also the most highly paid ACNA bishop.
I did not know this.
I think he makes $185,000.
Well, before the collapse. I'm sure they have to restructure the budget now, but. Well, this is just our opinion, you know.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. I'm not certain about it, but if you have if you have a hard number, I'd be interested in hearing that, because I can almost guarantee you that 185,000 is 60,000 greater than the next ACNA bishop. Don't know.
Well, he's not an ACNA bishop anymore, so I guess he can make what he wants. So, yeah.
True enough.
One of those, you know, if you would have told me years ago that this story was going to be on our radar, I would have said, no way, but it is. Next story. This was an oops, a black eye. Who are your sources? You got one wrong. Rwandan bishop convicted of graft charges, not acquitted, as originally reported on Anglican Inc. What is this? We're never wrong. We don't start the whole new year 2026 off wrong.
Yeah, in February, I wrote about a bishop who was charged by the Rwandan Investigation Bureau, the Rwandan police, on corruption and graft charges. Samuel Mushigina. I mangled his name, but I'll just say Samuel from this point forward.
Yeah, you
Bishop of Syria. And he was removed pending the trial by the Church of Rwanda and a new bishop appointed. Now, he has friends among the other bishops in Rwanda retired, Emmanuel Kalini, Alex Belinda Bagabu, John Ruciana, who are supporters of his. And they have been protesting his innocence, saying he's being charged with petty crimes like grazing his cattle on church land without, and having his farm sell eggs to church schools, things that are common practice among other bishops. Well, the Living Text, a website, published an article saying that he was found not guilty at the end of August. And since I had reported about the trial, I thought, well, I better update this. But I couldn't find anything in the Nigerian press, in the New Times, which is the Kigali newspaper. And so, citing the Living Text article, who in turn had cited the bishop's wife, who said that he was found not guilty. And then I wrote up the article, and then there was some interviews with Bishop Laurent Mabanda, the Archbishop, sort of giving a bigger picture. And published out it goes. In other words, the sort of the thing Anglican Inc. does pretty well that nobody else does. Sort of these stories from far off, far away.
Yeah.
Well, Archbishop Mabanda sent us a letter of correction. He said, no, he wasn't found not guilty. He was convicted and given 3.5 years prison sentence. And I go, oof.
Wait.
What's the story, Kevin? Trust but verify? Trust
but verify. Well, hold on. Your source has been a trustable source for a decade. So you trust but verify. Sometimes our sources get it wrong. And if our sources get it wrong that we trust, we're going to get it wrong. And we apologize for that. It happens like once every 3 years. And we were due. We were due for a big one. So here it is.
Yeah. But that's why when we do these sorts of articles, I always cite where I was told this from.
Sure.
So if you look at the original articles, which we're going to leave up because it's part of the record now, you can see I have a hyperlink to the original story and the bishop's wife's testimony. It's just, it's embarrassing.
Sure.
Because, but at the same time, if we don't put it out there for the entire correction, in other words, not just put out little snippets of what Mabanda said, but put out his whole statement, then people can sort of evaluate the whole thing in context. And what is interesting, though, is Mabanda's point is that bishops are not above the secular or spiritual law. They have to be held accountable for their actions. And it was not the Rwandan church that arrested him. It was not the Rwandan church that jailed him. People filed criminal complaints, which the government followed up upon and adjudicated them and found him guilty. Now, there may be differences of opinion within the House of Bishops over the severity of this, but the Church of Rwanda does not have a court system that can throw people in jail. It was the civil authorities who did this, and the civil authorities have the right to hold bishops accountable for civil crimes. And I'm thinking, boy, that sounds like the ACNA's problem. I mean,
which will be our last story.
We could slide sideways and take this back to the U.S.
Sure.
But Mabanda's point was very, very spot on.
Yeah.
That, bishops, just by being bishops, are not immune from consequences of their bad acts.
No, and that's why, Titus in the New Testament demands we keep our bishops above reproach. You should be able to look at a bishop and have no questions whatsoever. And if there was a question, it should be easily investigated, like was done with Bishop Dobbs. So, new story up here. Remember, it was December 2010, the Arab Spring, where slowly, starting in Tunisia and other places, revolts and revolutions broke out, and some Arab countries fell to the youth who were seeking freedom. Well, not only has Venezuela been in the news, but Iran is not in the news because news isn't covering yet. But slowly, the youth in Iran are overthrowing the country. Tehran is about to fall, or is on the verge of falling. What? I don't see this anywhere in the news. No, you don't. Certainly not on the BBC or other places. You see it on Twitter and X and Reddit and other places. But the Iranian Revolution has begun, George, and it's been going on for about 10 days.
Today is the 10th day, and the Iran and the mullahs have not fallen, but they are falling. Yesterday, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi met with all of the opposition groups, leftists, monarchists, military, civilian, all these groups. They met in Munich, I think, in Germany, and they are planning to form a new government once the mullahs go.
Sure.
It's already been reported that Moscow has issued an invitation to Ali Khamenei and his inner circle they can have refuge in Russia. The independent media has been showing videos from across Iran of outbreaks of civil unrest, and the people have now seized some of the armories of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and turning the arms against the henchmen of the Iranian regime. And there has not been a massive crackdown, not mass shootings, because President Trump said, if you do this, we'll stomp you. So this may be the end.
It might be
the Iranian mullah theocracy.
I think the youth of Iran saw the weakness of the leadership when they had such a small response to America and Israel bombing their nuclear facilities. And, it's a very feckless response. And I think the youth has said, you got nothing. If you can't respond to America, you can't respond to us.
Tonight, what's today, Tuesday night in the main square in Tehran, there are tens of thousands of people saying, down with the mullahs, long live King Reza Pahlavi.
Oh, wow.
Down with Islam. That the Revolutionary Guards have lost control of the streets of Tehran. Now, the fighting's continuing, but they're falling. Maybe after 2 or 3 days that they could have put a stopper on it. But when you reach day 10, and it's now spread across the entire country. So you don't need 1 million people in the main square of Tehran if you've got 10,000 in every town and city, because, the National Guard, the Revolutionary Guard can't control that. So why is this an Anglican story? Crickets, silence. From the Anglican world leaders, Anglican leadership.
Yeah.
Now, in 2018, Rowan Williams collected the signatures of 50 British bishops to protest the crackdown by the regime at that time of unrest. And, Stephen Cottrell is quick to say, nasty things about Israel anytime somebody has their nose put out of joint. But with real freedom fighters and real calls for liberty and separation of church and state and secular democracy, Anglican leaders are silent. They're happier to support Hamas in Gaza than the free people of Iran. It's a shame, really.
It is. All right, let's move on to our last story. After having their emergency meeting a month or two ago, last month, the ACNA College of Bishops are meeting again in Melbourne, Florida for their annual meeting. They're going to meet January 12th through the 16th. And their topic, the bishops are getting together to talk about how to hold bishops accountable and how to elect righteous bishops for once. So, hey, that's our topic, George. We love to talk about this type of thing. So let's talk about it. Is it too little too late? Or can they redeem 2025?
Well, they're going to be from the 12th to the 16th, and a great deal of preparatory work's been done on the Title IV reforms.
Yeah.
David Roseberry, for instance, has been writing about this process and how essential it is to get it right. Now, it will never be perfect, but it can certainly be a lot better. The question that you raised, though, Kevin, is an existential one. Can these fellas reform themselves? Because they're being asked to look at disciplining themselves more swiftly and looking at the process that put them in power. Because some people who are bishops shouldn't have been bishops, is the feeling right now.
You and I both feel that way. I'll raise my hand. There are people serving in the College of Bishops who should not be bishops. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And they're going to be 50 of them for a 100,000 active member denomination. That's an awful lot of bishops. Do they need 50? They could get away with 10 or 15.
I would pare it down to 30, but yeah, I mean, in the virtual in this virtual world, maybe 20.
Can they do this? Now, there's the will on the part of some, but there's also the resistance on the part of others who see their whole structures and authorities and their little kingdoms being unwound. That, they, I don't want to say that Derek Jones is representative of most bishops, but there's certainly other bishops in the College of Bishops who have a mindset and attitude that, this is my game. If you don't play it my way, we're going to walk, rather than being part of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Mm-hmm. We're part of the church that I created.
Yeah. The kingdom I made. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would ask the audience out there, all 10,000 of you who are subscribed to Anglican Unscripted, hold up the College of Bishops, the ACNA, in your prayers. This is a great chance for them to eke out a redemption for what happened in 2024 and 2025. Pray for Venezuela. What an opportunity this country has to be a Saudi Arabia with all its resources, not under Mullah control or Sunni control, but showing their own destiny. And pray for Iran, because this is the first time since Ted Koppel would sit at his desk because they kidnapped our guys, that we have a chance to offer some good reform into Iran. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Anglican Unscripted. Please go to anglican.inc/donate. There's a donate button in the show notes of this YouTube channel. We need to raise another $1,392. That doesn't include the hotel yet. And all the food and conference fee is covered by the Church of Nigeria. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. But to put Large George into a small economy class airplane seat cost me $1,300. And I'm willing to do it if he's willing to do it, and if you're willing to do it. I'm Kevin Kallsen.
And I'm George Conger. And you've been watching episode 949 of Anglican Unscripted.